You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen and Leaf fans, and welcome to the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition right here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your source for North American sports coverage by sports fans, for sports fans, delivered to you right here in the Niagara region. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms, guys. That is on Twitter and Facebook. Links located down in the description below, or you can search for it at Armchair GMs Pod and like us on Facebook at Armchair GMs Network. You can also check out our new website, armchairgmsports.com. I think I got that right. If not, it's located down in the description. We can also follow this Twitter account. Yes, that's very important. This show finally has its own Twitter account. You heard that correctly, folks. We are located on Twitter at Armchair GM Leafs. That's where you can find this podcast right on there, so make sure you go over and give us a quick follow. I'm your host, as always, ladies and gentlemen, of this Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition. I am your host, Kyle. You can follow me on Twitter at JustKyle51 if you so choose. Make sure you are following the network, though. Very important stuff. Yes, we have a website. Finally, it's a great website you guys can check out, learn about the hosts on the website. We write articles. Great website, so go check it out, guys. Give us your thoughts. If you want to take us on the go, we are available on the go on the Spotify, the YouTube, the Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox. Everywhere you can find the podcast, make sure you type in the Armchair GM Sports Network, and you will find us and all the other glorious shows on this network, as myself and Brandon have started this venture on this sports network. But we're here to talk about the Leafs. That is the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition. And, it's been interesting. It's been a while since we had an episode. It's been a while since we have done an episode here for you guys. Gonna have a lot to talk about today. Going to have the playoff matchup that, we're going to talk about the new playoff format briefly. We kind of already talked about it, myself and Brandon, on Under the Review. So go check that out, guys, the Under Review podcast. Myself and Brandon talked about the playoff format and the new draft lottery a little bit. So go check that out. But specifically on this podcast, we're going to talk about the Leafs first round matchup, or I guess the play-in matchup, I guess they're calling it. And then we'll discuss some other things. We'll do a season wrap up first, and then we'll talk about the playoffs. But got a lot on this show. So we have the season wrap up. We'll talk about the current injuries in the team. Give you guys my 2 cents on which team has the edge in the playoff matchup with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And then I'll give you guys my overall thoughts on that. And I'll give you guys my thoughts on if the Leafs move on, who I'd want them to face. But really just going to focus on the season ending of the regular season of the NHL and the playoff matchup against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, going to take a first quick commercial break, guys, and we'll be right back here on the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition, and then right here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, serving Italian pizzas made with the freshest, top-quality ingredients. Loaded subs and our famous chicken wings, winners of the 2017 Reader's Choice Awards, and the brand-new recipients of the 2019 Reader's Choice Diamond Award from Niagara this week for Best Pizza in Niagara Falls. Open daily, located on the corner of Drummond Road and Dunn Street. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery. 905-374-4400. Debit and credit accepted for both. You've tried the rest. It's time to try us. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. Attention job seekers. If you're currently looking for work in the Niagara region, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls. Free services include resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, community resource and referral information, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, second career information and registration assistance, and check out our available workshops under our events calendar on our website for more details at www.ehc.on.ca, the Niagara Employment Help Center. Marcel Dion Inc. Come in and check out our store and meet Marcel Dion himself. We have wall-to-wall NFL, MLB, and NHL licensed products and all kinds of collectibles. We specialize in autographed sports memorabilia. If you don't see what you're looking for, just ask and we'll find it for you. So next time you need a great gift idea for that sports fanatic in your life, or you need to add to your own collection, come visit us first. You won't be disappointed. 905-357-7678, Marcel Dion Inc. Chippin' Charlie's, it's where the locals go. Fun, friendly, and entertaining staff. You're not just a customer, you're family. Lots of TVs, amazing food, and always a great time. Open daily 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Call 905-371-3428 for inquiries and reservations. Located at 8189 Lundy's Lane, Niagara Falls. Chippin' Charlie's, it's where the locals go. Mid-City Motors Niagara, your premium source for pre-owned vehicles. Financing and leasing for all types of credit. Check them out at 4460 Drummond Road, Niagara Falls, or at mcmniagara.com. They are also happy to announce Mid-City Mechanic is now open. They can repair, maintain, and service all makes and models of vehicles. Conveniently located behind Mid-City Motors at Drummond Road and Perkins Street. They will be happy to help you keep your car on the road. 905-371-2277. That's Mid-City Motors and Mid-City Mechanic.
You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
Welcome back, guys, to the Armchair GMs Sports Network in here on the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition. I'm your host, Kyle, back from commercial break. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the commercial break, and you're checking out our great sponsors right here in the Niagara region. Thank you for showing some love to them. But we're here to talk about the Leafs. We're going to do a season wrap-up, and then we'll get into the playoffs here. And it was an interesting end of the season, I guess you can say. The Leafs finishing third in the Atlantic. I guess that's a positive, right? It's a good positive to take. Leafs finishing third in the Atlantic. With a 36-25-9 record after 70 games, so we're only 12 short of a full regular season with 81 points. The Florida Panthers were very close to us. They finished fourth, and they had a really good season, so I'm giving the props to the Florida Panthers, man. So I'm going to give them a quick ding there for the Florida Panthers. 35-26-8. They only finished 3 points behind us, so it was a very tight race, and they had a game in hand. Tampa Bay finished in second place ahead of us by 11 points. So big season for them, 43-21-6. And then, yes, in first place, the glorious Boston Bruins. We all love the Boston Bruins finishing with 100 points in first in the Atlantic, but yeah, sure. Good for them. Very interesting season. So if we can take it out of perspective, the 12 games that remain. So 70 games as a full season. You know, the Leafs were all right. Had a better home record. They were 18-9-7 at home, 18-16-2 on the road. Shootout record was horrible this year. I hate the shootout. If you guys know me, I hate the shootout. It is the worst part of hockey. It should be taken out. Save that for like the Olympics or whatever. Like, just take it out of the NHL. I hate the shootout. We were 1-5. And just put it in more perspective, Boston had 7 shootouts this year, and they're 0-7. So, you know, you have the best team in the NHL, but, you know, does nothing in the shootout. So it is what it is. But the Leafs had a good first half. The second half, they kind of struggled a little bit, but they're still hanging in there. I think there was just more expectations. We weren't supposed to be hanging on by a thread. Like, that wasn't supposed to be anything. So, like, I mean, at least going to the second half of the season, it was just, right? It was a disappointment. But, you know, they got back on track. and now we made the playoffs. So I guess we can see that the Leafs made the playoffs again. We are now officially considered a Stanley Cup playoff contending team. We've made it for like the last 5 or 6 years, whatever it was. So good for them. I can appreciate that. So finishing 30 in Atlantic is not too bad. If we look at the conference standings, I know we don't go 1-8 anymore, and I miss that. I'm sure all you guys out there missed that, the 1-8 playoff format. That was the best. So we finished 7th. We would have made the playoffs in that format as well. 7th in the Eastern Conference, tied in 81 points with Carolina and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And then, look at that. Islanders finishing 1 point out. Attaboy, Islanders finishing 1 point out there. But anyways, I think they pretty sure made the 24 playoff format, so I can't say anything too much. Just bitter about Tavares, like every other Leafs fan. As for the team itself, the Leafs, pretty good stat-wise. I mean, our boy Austin Matthews, Pappy, number 34. Finishing with 47 goals, 33 assists. I imagine he would have finished with at least probably close to 90 points in the next 12 games. I think he probably would have gotten at least 6 to 8 points, maybe finished with 88 tops. But 47 goals, 33 assists, he probably would have gotten to 50. He was second in the league in scoring. Man, this guy had an unbelievable season this year. And he played all 70 games. So that was the main thing, too. He did not go down hurt as he has in the past. So Matthews playing a full season was great. He's a plus 19 on a team. That was a good plus. An incredible stat, though, is Mitch Marner. We know the whole contract thing and him coming in late. That was a big thing this year. And he only played 59 games, but he had 67 points. Yeah, 67 points in only 59 games for Mitchie. So good for him. Tavares finishing off with 60 points. I know he had kind of like a rough year. I think people were expecting a little bit more out of him after scoring some crazy 40-something goals last year. He beat his record. His own goal scoring record. So, people were expecting, going on top of that. But I think he had an all right season. 63 games, 60 points. Good enough for him. Will Nye, the scoring guy, finishing off with 59 points, 31 goals, a second in the team. I think it was a big season for him. He had a very underrated season. I didn't hear a lot of people talking about Will Nye. Especially because after he signed that contract, he was like the old talk of the town. He was like, Greedlander. Yeah. Greedlander. Guy's making $6.9 million to score 31 goals. I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, 31 goals. Tim, and that was pretty easy.
That was easy.
It's crazy. So good for him. Tyson Barrie, the defenseman that we acquired in a trade with the Colorado Avalanche, finishing off with 39 points in 70 games as a defenseman. That's not bad. First defense, he actually led the team in defensive points, so good for him. Hyman, 37 points, and then the list goes down. I think the big thing was the story of the season was the goalie situation. So obviously we had a rough time with the backup goalie situation. I'm not going to touch too base on it when we made the trade for Jack Campbell. And Jack Campbell, he played 6 games for us. He was 3-2-0-1 with a goals against average of 2.63 and a save percentage of .915. I think that is incredible for a backup goalie, and he looked good. He looked confident in the net. I think the team got more confident with him in the net. I think it was a very good acquisition. I hope we lock him up as a backup goalie. I think he could be a really solid solid backup for Freddie. And speaking of Freddie, guys, workhorse Freddie, 52 games this year, 29 wins, 13 losses, 7 OT losses, 2.85 goals against average with a .909 save percentage. Another huge year for Freddie. 3 shutouts on top of that. I think it's Freddie's the GOAT, man. Freddie the GOAT. I mean, we can call Frederick Gauthier the GOAT, but the true GOAT, true Freddie the GOAT on the team we all know is Frederick Anderson. So, yeah, very, very decent year for the Leafs, although it was cut short due to the pandemic. As stat-wise and standing-wise, I think they did a pretty good job. I think they had a rough last couple of games. They went on that California road trip, and they didn't sneak out with any wins. They only lost 1-0 in a shootout to the Los Angeles Kings. The damn shootout! And then winning 2-1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think, was a solid effort as well for that last game before COVID. As for the team with injuries, I mean, you can't look at the injury list. Like the first 2 people that come up on the injury list, it's always going to come up when you're looking at injuries for the Leafs. It's David Clarkson and Nathan Hortons. I'm not even going to talk about them. They're not coming back. Ilya Mikheyev with that wrist laceration. We all remember that crazy freak accident with the wrist. I forget whose skate it was that cut Mikaya's wrist. Wasn't too pretty. I believe he should be. I'm hoping he's ready for the playoffs. We'll see. Andreas Janssen, knee. He left in the mid-game back on February 12th. Hoping, actually, no, it was him that he's out, I think he's out something like 6 months. He won't be ready until, maybe. Because, when I first seen the injury, I think he was out until training camp. He could come back, maybe. I'll keep an eye on Andreas Janssen. And then Jake Muzzin on February 24th, he had a fractured hand. He's day-to-day still. So he could come back. It'd be nice if we get Muzzy back there. Big, solid D. I think we could definitely benefit from him being back there with the Leafs. So, again, not a bad year for the Leafs. Again, we're making the playoffs. That's the main thing was when we were rebuilding this team, we were trying to get back into a state where we can say that we are a playoff contending team. And I think we are back in that state. I don't think that's outlandish to say. I think that we are considered a playoff contending team and a top team in the Atlantic with the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think we've done a hell of a good job with this rebuild, and there's still work to be done. I'm not saying that we're set. Obviously, the back end, the defense is the main topic of concern. It's always going to be a main topic of concern until we have an established D. But again, we're working with a tight crunch team, so that's always going to be a topic, I think, going into the future unless something happens like a Mitch Marner or a Willie Nylander get traded. I don't see Austin or Tavares ever getting traded for a while, so we'll see what happens with those. So other than that, I thought it was a pretty good season. And look at that. We made the playoffs. They went into a 24-team format. And it was actually pretty funny because the last team to make it was the Montreal Canadiens. I'm like, oh, of course. And us Leaf fans were sitting there going, just grinding our teeth going, yeah, great, good for Montreal. And then really in the back of our heads, we're like, right, great, Montreal made the playoffs. Good for them. But guys, we made the playoffs. Yes. We're facing the Columbus Blue Jackets. Oh. Yes. I don't think we got to hear that because I don't think Columbus is going to be picked as a host city. I hope they're not picked as a host city because I do not want to hear that the entire play-in round. So it's said it's a best of 5 for the play-on round, and it's probably going to be best of 7 as the playoffs go on. We really haven't got too much confirmation details with that after Gary Bettman's announcement. I thought I seen a couple of news articles coming up saying it's not totally for sure what the playoff format is going to be going after the play-in round, as in terms of the best of series. So I think it's going to be 7. They should just do 7 for the rest. I guess we'll have to see what happens when it comes around. It's a kind of like a play-it-by-year type of situation. You never know with this. Obviously, this pandemic, it could go either way. But yeah, we made the playoffs. It'll be an interesting first matchup. So, going to take another quick commercial break here, guys, and we'll be right back in the Armchair GMs Sports Network. We're going to talk about the Leafs playoff matchup against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll be right back right here on the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition and right here on the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
The Blue Line Diner is Niagara's leading breakfast restaurant. Great food, great service, and where else can you see one of the NHL's greatest players having coffee and conversation with patrons? Of course, Marcel Dion Inc. is located directly next door, and Marcel is always in and out of the restaurant, talking to the kids and the fans that walk through the doors. Open Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. 289-296-8785, the Blue Line Diner, located on Montrose Road, Niagara Falls. Simply Fit Health Club, real 24-hour access, 7 days a week. Located at 6595 Drummond Road, Niagara Falls. A clean, modern facility with top-of-the-line equipment, a friendly and non-judgmental environment, free Wi-Fi, ample parking, and more. Come in and tour their facility anytime during their office hours. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Don't hesitate to stop in. No appointment necessary. They take pride in helping their members reach their health and fitness goals at their convenience and for the best possible price. For only $9.99 bi-weekly, members will get access to the state-of-the-art facility any day, anytime. What are you waiting for? At Simply Fit, there are no excuses, only results. Come see for yourself. 296-9535 or info@simplyfithealthclub.com. Simply Fit Health Club. Mick and Angelo's, Niagara Falls' premier sports kitchen and bar. We're all about food, friends, and fun. Catch the game with us and grab a delicious bite to eat while enjoying a cold beer. Bus trips to sporting events, live music performances, and sports pools throughout the year. Open daily 11 a.m. to midnight and 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Mick and Angelo's, Niagara Falls' premier sports kitchen and bar. Canadian Wrestling Figure Store. Check out their website at cwf.ecwid.com for the best selection in Canada for WWE Elites, Basics, and exclusive action figures. Free Canada-wide shipping on any order over $200. Enter the code ARMCHAIR at checkout so they know that we sent you to receive 10% off your order. Once again, that's Canadian Wrestling Figure Store at cwf.ecwid.com. Attention employers! Finding the right candidate to meet your hiring needs requires more than just posting an advertisement and waiting for a suitable candidate to apply. Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Free job postings, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, all candidates will be pre-screened, job trials and placement incentives, and financial assistance may be applicable to offset the cost of training. Again, that's Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls. www.ehc.on.ca.
You're listening to the Armchair GMs Sports Network.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Armchair GMs Sports Network and the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition. Here back from commercial break. Again, thank you to all our great sponsors here on this sports network that helps us stay on the air. And hopefully you guys are checking out our great sponsors here in the Niagara region. If you are from here, if you're listening outside, if you ever visit, check them out. Pretty good stuff. So we're here to talk about the Leafs playoffs here against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yes. Great. Thank God. I hope they don't pick Columbus as a host city, so we have to hear that every single goal. But it's not like they're going to score anyways. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into that. Anyways, here to talk about Columbus Blue Jackets, guys, here in the playoffs. In the play-in round, which will get us to the first round, which plays, so basically how they structure it as there's a play-on round, and the top 4 teams in each division will play each other in like a little mini-series to determine seeding, and winners of the play-in round, like we play the first seed. So whoever ends up in the first seed out of their little play-in round by the top seeders, we'll play them in the next round. So there's a chance. We either play the Philadelphia Flyers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Washington Capitals, or the Boston Bruins. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice to play them in the playoffs again? But I always say this. I always say this to my fellow Leaf fans. If we're going to win the Stanley Cup, we have to exercise the demon on the way. We have to play the Boston Bruins, and we have to beat them and then win the Stanley Cup in that same year, or else it doesn't mean any. It means something. It just won't mean that much to me. I'm hoping a lot of you guys out there feel the same. But that's how I kind of see it. Hopefully you guys agree with me. But yeah, we will play one of those 4 depending on how they see themselves in their little play-in round. But as for the Leafs against the Columbus Blue Jackets, as for the season series, the Leafs took the first game, and it was in Columbus by a score of 4-1, so a big win there. The Blue Jackets returned the favor back at our home rink, the Scotiabank Arena, or a.k.a. ACC, as we all still like to call it. They won a 4-3 game in overtime. That was, actually remember this, there was a penalty shot by Gustav Nyquist that went in, so what a crazy way to end a game like that. I would rather have that than a shootout. Just saying. I mean, penalty shot, but an overtime game, give them 10 minutes of overtime 3-on-3. Just do it. Just do it. No one likes the shootout. Anyways, both teams actually couldn't play their third matchup because it was in March. It was later in March, and then obviously the pause happened, so could never get that tiebreaker, so we get a tie in a season series. Ugh. Boo. I hate ties. Anyways, yeah, season series is tied. Gross. Whatever, it is what it is. So, in terms of the playoff matchup against Columbus, I'm actually excited. I'm pretty pumped for this. I think we can have a pretty good season. I think we have a pretty good series, against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We saw what they did last year. Obviously, when we went out against the Bruins, here's what that is, blah, 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 blah. And Columbus actually was the story of last year's first round. If you all remember, last year's first round, the Blue Jackets swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, which was huge because they had a massive season. They had won the President's Trophy. They were set to just dominate in the playoffs and collect that Stanley Cup at the end, but they blew it.
You blew it!
They blew it and lost in a sweep to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So let's hope that doesn't happen to us. But I'm going to break it down for you guys. Offense, defense, goalie, and coach. We'll start off with the offense. I give the edge to the Maple Leafs. And again, I'm not going to be too biased with this, but I have to give the edge to the Maple Leafs, guys. Just look at them. Their offense compared to the Blue Jackets offense. The Blue Jackets offense isn't the same as it was before. They're in a rebuild, basically. The Leafs had a total of 237 goals this year in 70 games. That's crazy. And to put it in more perspective, that's second in the NHL. Only behind the Tampa Bay Lightning, who had an impressive 243. So we weren't that far off the Tampa Bay Lightning for the number one goal-scoring team in the NHL. So that's why I give the edge to the Maple Leafs. We are led by a studded cast of obviously like Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, William Nylander. The Leafs certainly have the firepower to back all that up. Now, as for the Columbus Blue Jackets, I mean, they have a solid team. They have a solid offense. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois, who they kind of found his footing for number one center. Oliver Bjorkstrand has started to live up to his junior scoring career. He had 21 goals in 49 games this year, which is pretty impressive. They had a lot of young players in their bottom part of the lineup who kind of stepped up in a big way. They had the guys like Eric Robinson, Emil Bernstrom, and also Nathan Gerbe kind of added a little bit of something to the Blue Jackets up front. However, there is much uncertainty with the Blue Jackets, though, to kind of keep this positivity on them. Cam Atkinson, a guy who's been huge for them in the past. He's only had 12 goals this year in only 44 games, 12 goals, after a 41-goal campaign in the 2018-2019 season. So how do you follow that up with only 12? So he's on the decline. That's not a good thing. They got Alexander Wenberg, who's continued to struggle to produce offense at a high level. He had a breakout campaign when he did break out. He had 46 assists and 59 points back in 16. So I don't know where he's been. And then Josh Anderson could still be out of the lineup. He had shoulder surgery in early March, so he's not completely set to come back yet. So that's why I give the edge to the Maple Leafs, guys. They're just way too powerful compared to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm not taking anything away from them, though. I wouldn't doubt that the Columbus Blue Jackets do take advantage of the Leafs' weak defense and pop a few in past Freddie. You never know. Playoffs are a whole different ball game. I guess you could say ball. I was going to say ball field. Ball game. Anyways, so that's the offense. I give it to the Maple Leafs, guys. I think anyone, even fans of either team, would say the Leafs have the edge in that, just with their incredible offense. Not even just talking about their star-studded cast. I'm talking about even the Leafs' secondary scoring is huge. They got guys like Kerfoot, Hyman, Kapanen. You have Janssen that could be coming back, and you have the young rookies coming back. Like Mikheyev could do something. They signed that Nicholas Robertson guy, who I interviewed. I actually should have had it for this episode. I didn't. I'll get it out to you guys probably by the next episode. I interviewed Nick Robertson after an OHL game, and I talked to him a little bit. So Nick Robertson, I mean, it looks like they're going to have him as an extra. He might get a game or two. We'll have to see depending on injuries. But even him, man, he's been solid in the OHL. I got to watch him play a lot, covering the Ice Dogs, and he is a stud. So we never know. We never know with him. But anyways, as for the rest of the Leafs offense, they take the cake over the Columbus Blue Jackets in terms of offense. So we're going to talk about defense. Yes, that's right, defense. The one thing the Leafs lack in. Yeah, that's right. So I'm giving the edge to the Columbus Blue Jackets, obviously, and here's why. So Columbus, solid defense, has been tracked back to a number of key decisions but none other than the arrival of Seth Jones and Zach Werenski. If we track it back, as a dynamic, they're a game-changing pair. 100% Seth Jones, Werenski, studs on the blue line, huge part of the Columbus Blue Jackets defense. They have a lot of bodies that are willing to be able to plug in and play tight defensive and shot-blocking games, so that's huge. If you have a bunch of guys who are willing to go out there and plug up the holes and just shot block after shot block and are not afraid to put their bodies on the line, you have a solid back blue line there. The Maple Leafs do have some star power, though. I'm not going to take them out completely. They got Morgan Rielly, Jake Muzzin, Tyson Barrie, but it's their lack of depth that if you you compare it to the Columbus Blue Jackets defense, obviously the Leafs lack in that depth department. If the Leafs are looking for a series win, they'll have to need a emerge of huge play by a lot of their secondary D-men. Guys like Travis Dermott, guys like Justin Hall, who has been silent all year. I don't know what the hell happened to this guy. He's been quiet. And even Rasmus Sandin, I don't want to put too much on the kid because it's his rookie year. You don't want to put too much on his shoulder. But I think he's got to maybe step up a little bit and help out the other guys in that bottom pair, the defensemen. So obviously I'm giving the edge to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're just so solid with depth and crucial defenders. And obviously that first pair is just lethal of Werenski and Seth Jones. So I'm giving the edge to the Columbus Blue Jackets when it comes to defense. Now we talk about defense. There's always going to be that extra guy back there, and that's goaltending. And yes, obviously I'm giving the edge to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't think anybody would give the edge to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in recent memory, there's always been question marks around the Maple Leafs goaltending. I remember this for years, ever since back when we had Belfour and Curtis Joseph. From that era on, there's always been question marks. We went through Andrew Raycroft. We went through James Reimer, Vesa Toskala, J.S. Jaguar. Like, there's been so many to name that there's always been a question mark on, have we found the next steady guy? And now the Leafs can truly rely on a guy to lead them between the pipes. And that is the great goaltending, and that begins with Frederik Andersen, Steady Freddy. He has shown in his career, .917 save percentage during his time with the Leafs and Anaheim Ducks, that he is an above-average goaltender in the NHL. This guy should have been a qualifier for the Hart Trophy a few years back. I was pissed that he wasn't, because if it wasn't for Frederik Andersen, the Leafs wouldn't have made that playoff round. I believe it was the one where they faced the Washington Capitals in year one, man. He had a massive year. I just don't understand that this guy is the reason why we make a lot of wins and we make a lot of playoff series because of Frederik Andersen. He's finally that guy that we needed behind the pipes that we can truly rely on. Although Andersen may not have a lot of experience going past the first round. Yeah, whatever. They keep rubbing it in, man. When I read these things. The Blue Jackets goaltending has none, though. They neither Korpisalo or Elvis Merzlikins. What a weird name, that guy. Elvis Merzlikins. What a name. They haven't even started a playoff round, those two. They lost Sergei Bobrovsky to the Florida Panthers in the offseason. The goaltending, the goaltending wasn't an issue really in the regular season. We actually kind of saw an emergence of Korpisalo and Merzlikins. The Blue Jackets were actually tied with the Arizona Coyotes for third in goals against with only 183. That was just behind the Dallas Stars and the Boston Bruins. So those two kind of came out of their shells a little bit, man. They relied heavily on them and their defensive structure, so both goalies and their defensive structure to stay in a playoff race. But it's the uncertainty at how the goaltending are going to handle a playoff series. Obviously, again, like I said, it's a different ball game in the playoffs when it comes to this stuff. So Korpisalo and Merzlikins, do they have the composure to stay composed and lead the Columbus in a playoff series? Do they go with their all-star goaltender in Korpisalo, who made the all-star game? Or do they go with the, I guess they call it the streaking and electrifying Elvis Merzlikins? It's going to be a question that's going to fall on the Columbus Blue Jackets in this case. So we'll see who they go with. It's going to be very interesting to see which one breaks out of the shell. I can imagine them playing both. Maybe one goalie plays one game, maybe one goalie plays the other, or maybe they have in their little mini training camp, they make a decision. We'll have to see. But obviously the edge goes to the Toronto Maple Leafs with Steady Freddie in net, having some playoff experience more than the other two, and then obviously Jack Campbell with the backup goalie. I think he's solid enough to back up Freddie in case anything happens. So, last but not least, we'll talk about coaching, and I have to give it to the Columbus Blue Jackets because it's obvious. Like, the matchup between the benches, the Leafs and Blue Jackets, can be described as a young up-and-coming coach against a veteran with over 650 career wins in the NHL. As well as the two coaches have won championships as head coaches in multiple different leagues. So there's a very, very interesting coaching matchup here that we got against the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sheldon Keefe, Chief Keefe, has won championships with the Pembroke Lumber Kings of the CJHL. He's won a championship with the Toronto Marlies, while John Tortorella's accomplishments feature a championship with the Virginia Lancers of the ACHL and a championship with the Rochester Americans of the AHL, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning. We all remember that Stanley Cup against Calgary Flames in 2003. So, obviously, John Tortorella, huge, I guess, bigger trophy case more than Sheldon Keefe. He still has to add a Stanley Cup to that repertoire. But Keefe, 39 years old, was hired late November last year, taking on the place of Mike Babcock. Since then, he's led the Leafs to a record of 27-15-5 in 47 games. That's not a bad record for a young coach to step in the big shoes of Mike Babcock to take this Leafs team into the promised land. So, meanwhile, on the other side, ever since being hired by the Blue Jackets in 2015, Tortorella has found a quiet place to go about his business, as you would say, in Columbus. Also, with the injury-riddled season that the Blue Jackets have endured, he'll have more ammunition to motivate the group and push them to new heights, just as they did with the Lightning in the historic playoff sweep in the first round of the 2019 playoffs. So, I will give the edge to Tortorella. I think he's got the leadership and the experience in the playoffs to lead his young core and lead a lot of the veterans into a playoff matchup. Obviously, Sheldon Keefe has championship caliber behind him, but not at an NHL level. So we'll have to see how that translates over to the NHL level, and especially in a playoff series and a playoff format that neither coach are accustomed to. No one's accustomed to. We're going into a whole new ball game here and a whole new world because obviously these playoffs are going to start late as well. So it's going to be very interesting for every coach in the NHL, but I'm giving the advantage to to John Tortorella and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So overall, I think it's going to be a hard-fought series, for sure, out of both teams. It has potential to go all 5 games. I will admit, this is not going to be an easy road. It has a very big potential to go to Game 5, because the play-in round is a best of 5. It's going to come down to the weaknesses of both teams to step up. It's going to come down to the offense of the Blue Jackets to step up, and it's going to come down to the Maple Leafs defense to step up. And the Leafs stars need to step up. Not even just their defense, their stars. And I'm talking about their offensive guys. Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. They need to step up in this series and take it and grab it by the cojones and lead the Leafs past the Blue Jackets. Because the Blue Jackets are going to come hard, man. We know that they can beat a tough team in a playoff series. We've seen it last year, obviously, with different members on the team. But, hey, they still have that grit. The Blue Jackets have to pray that their rookie goaltender stay composed as well. You never know with them. Again, rookie goaltenders going into the playoffs, they could flourish or they could choke, and, that'll be it. So, here's hoping that we don't get swept and the Blue Jackets continue their streak of sweeping teams in round 1 of playoff matchups. Yeah, that'd be great. That's what I think about overall. How's he going to stay with the Leafs? It's a Leaf podcast. You got to pick the Leafs. So I think that the Leafs will take it in this one. And if the Leafs move on, this is what we need to talk about, boys and girls. We need to talk about the move on here. So Tampa Bay, Boston, Washington, and Philly will play for their seeding. The Leafs, like I said, play the number 1 seed. This is a tough decision that I wouldn't mind either way. So we'll talk about, obviously, we got to talk about the Bruins first. Yeah. We know. It's the Bruins. Everyone loves the Bruins. Boston, I wouldn't mind facing them first round, though, because winning a Stanley Cup without beating the Boston Bruins would not be the same to me. I've said that before. On the other hand, though, not playing Boston would probably be a blessing in disguise, guys, and most likely be good for my personal health, and I think a lot of you guys' personal health out there. I would love a series with the Tampa Bay Lightning. That would be sweet. Leafs and Lightning evenly matched would be a great series. Probably go the distance. Probably go all the way to Game 7. I wouldn't mind that. I would love to play Tampa Bay. I know we have the edge on them, I think, as well. Playing Washington would be nice, too, though. Not going to lie. Playing Washington Capitals, we get some redemption from a few years back when we were young and not even supposed to make the playoffs, and then we ended up going to 6 games with them. So I think it would be a nice retribution for them, and beating Washington Capitals would be a nice series and a feel-good series. And lastly, a series with the Philadelphia Flyers. Honestly, man, and girls, I can't tell. I can't tell how I feel about it. I can't. There's just there's a bit of redemption factors here with Philly. I mean, we remember back in the early 2000s. You remember those years, the glory years, I guess, the Sundin era, the McGill and Roberts, all that. Robert Reichel, you can name off names all day. The Leafs would follow the Flyers every time we met them in the season or the playoffs. They were our Boston back then. That's what the Flyers were. So I think it would be a little bit of a redemption factor there, especially coming down to a playoff format. I think the Leafs 100% would have the edge, though, this time. It would be nice to face JVR, too, at the same time, but he also could be our kryptonite. That's right. JVR is a solid player. Even now is still a solid player. So he could either be a blessing in disguise for us or the Philadelphia Flyers. So overall, if I had to pick one out of the 4 teams, I would love to play the Tampa Bay Lightning. Absolutely love to play Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1. I think it would be a great series. It would be great hockey, and I think we'd have the edge. Number 2, I guess I would pick Boston because I know, like I said, I don't want to play them, but we have to exercise the demon. 3 would be Washington, and 4 would be Philly. Now, as for this playoff format in general, guys, if the Leafs make the playoffs, if the Leafs make the Stanley Cup final and we win the Stanley Cup, to me, as a sportsman, as a hockey fan, as a Leafs diehard fan, it wouldn't feel the same for me. I don't think winning a Stanley Cup in an arena with no crowd is going to be the same, and it won't feel the same. Not only that, you guys remember, if COVID continues the way it's continuing, we're not having a Stanley Cup parade. And all the people are going to backlash on me. Like, oh, well, they've had protests. They've had this. They've had that. They can do something like that. Do you not remember the Raptors parade? That was insane. There was way more people out there for that. And there was you can't stop people from not social distancing if you're going to have a parade like that. So I hope that, it's kind of COVID goes away a little bit by then and we can have some sort of parade or something. I don't believe it, but that's my opinion. It's going to be weird to see the Leafs winning a Stanley Cup with no crowd. I'd rather them have a crowd there. I'd rather it be at home with our home crowd, or if it's on the road, at least, the Leafs fans travel well. There'll be a lot of Leafs fans there. I can't enjoy the Leafs winning a Stanley Cup with no one in the crowd. So if the Leafs get knocked out in the first round, actually I want them to move past round 1. If the Leafs get knocked out in round 2 or round 3 or even the Stanley Cup, you know what? I'm not going to be as mad as I probably will be. I'll probably be very furious, but I won't be as mad because in the back of my head, I will know that I would rather have the Leafs win the Stanley Cup with a crowd in front of them. It would mean a lot more. It would mean going outside, going crazy, going to the parades. It would mean a lot more to me as a Leaf fan. It should be to you guys out there as a Leaf fan for this team. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, guys, I really have nothing else for you in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys check out the other wonderful podcasts here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Check out our website, awesome website, armchairgmsports.com. Go and check out our Twitter, our socials, our Twitter, Facebook, all that mumbo jumbo. If you want to go over to the YouTube version of this podcast, click all the links down below. They'll all be down below for you. Or if you guys want to go to armchairgmsports.com, you'll be able to find everything on there as well. So thank you for tuning in, guys, to this edition of the Niagara Hockey Lowdown, Leafs edition, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. I'm your host, as always. I'm Kyle. You can follow me on Twitter at JustCall51. I'll see you guys here right back next time for the next edition of the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Leafs edition. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.
To pour the coffee, and he fills it only halfway. And before I even argue, he is looking out the window, and somebody